The guys are making fun of me because I prepared a speech, but I teach, and I would lose all credibility if I did not come prepared. This is an honor that I never saw coming. Unlike some of my peers who have probably been waiting for the call since they became eligible for induction, I had a voice message from Tracy, and I returned it casually, completely shocked, when she told me that I had been selected. So thank you to Tracy for still managing to surprise me, and to the nominating committee for this crazy honor. I joke all the time that I'm a has-been athlete, and it is an accurate label. Despite my chubby face from college, I had a whole lot more muscle back then. And maybe all of us up here feel that to a certain extent, the notion of being a has-been athlete. But for me, it goes a little deeper. As a rower at UM, I was strangely healthy. While all of my teammates and my friends from across the sport were in the training room getting iced and wrapped and taped and stemmed, I was in there either socializing or trying to convince our athletic trainer to give me a back rub. And being healthy, I learned a lot about success, about pushing my body hard and seeing the payoff in competition, about the awards and accolades that come with winning, and also when we competed on a national stage, I learned quite a bit about losing. But rowing at UM for me was fun. The 5 a.m. wake-up calls every morning, not so much. But in general, I loved it. I am Canadian, and so I loved the outdoor, or the warmth, given that I competed in outdoor sport. I loved the family, community feel of our athletic department, and I loved to compete. Whether it was extra weight room workouts on our days off, or the constant one-upping with my best friend of who could do more wellness center stairs, or being the 4-year undefeated winner of the warm-up lap around the football field before weights, which obviously wasn't a race, but everything's a race. I love to compete. And looking back, it was easy. I had never really had an obstacle, much less an injury. And if you had asked me then what I learned rowing at UM, I would have told you about competing and drive and work ethic. It wasn't until 6 years after my college career had ended that I was forced to put into practice the lessons that I'd taken for granted my time at UM. Lessons about determination and teamwork and what it means to be strong. It was 2010, and I had just finished 8.5 years of school. I had my PhD to show for it and a new faculty position at Missouri State University. But 3 months into my time there, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, and it was a shock. I was young, I felt healthy. Cancer didn't even make sense. But with the same kind of get-it-done attitude that I had applied in my sport, I went into surgery thinking, cancer is the obstacle, and after surgery, I'd have overcome it. It didn't go that way. In determining that the cancer had spread, the surgeon took an aggressive approach and tried to remove all signs of it. I woke up from surgery, not able to swallow without choking. I struggled to breathe, and I had no voice. I was diagnosed with bilateral vocal cord paralysis. My left vocal cord was fully paralyzed, and my right partially so. I lost 80% of my airway due to surgical error, and it was irreparable, permanent. In a matter of hours, I had gone from an athlete who ran and lifted and competed to a has-been in every sense of the word. I couldn't run. I couldn't walk upstairs without gasping for air. I couldn't talk for any length of time, and I certainly couldn't compete, at least in the way that I had. And for a while, it was devastating. It was a loss of identity that I struggled to come to terms with. And what was hardest was the fear. I'm 4 millimeters away from an airway that's completely closed. So a bad cold, or changes in altitude, or the swelling that comes from pregnancy. 4 millimeters for me is the difference between breathing and not. But with hard times also comes perspective. Most people with this condition either have a feeding tube or they have a permanent trach, which allows them to breathe through a hole in their neck. I can talk with only a little difficulty. I can work out with full recovery between sets. and I can eat and drink, and I hardly ever choke anymore. And that perspective helped me see the bigger picture and helped me see the connections to the values that are so ingrained in my sport that I'd never fully appreciated before. Rowing is all about determination. And it's really easy to be determined when things are clicking along, and it's really hard when they're not. The grit and perseverance I learned as a rower fed into this when I was facing the fallout from cancer. In rowing, you don't stop when it starts hurting. You don't stop when your hands are bleeding or the tracks are cutting up the back of your legs. You push through. And I found this to be as true in life as it is on the water. You push through. Rowing also taught me about teamwork. I really don't think there's another sport that's more dependent on teamwork than rowing. The timing, the technique, the commitment of your teammates is essential. Knowing the game plan, executing accordingly is what keeps you racing. And I found the same to be true now. Building a team of doctors that share the same goals for my health and that are on permanent standby to carry them out. A family who supports me through every setback, and a best friend who reminds me too often to take my medicine. I've since gone 2 more rounds with cancer. I have had a couple close calls. I have been cut ear to ear. I've breathed through a hole in my neck. And all of that was hard and scary, but the lessons stick with me. And I hope that what I've lost in athleticism, I've gained in perspective and mental strength. When I think back to my time at UM, I think about my teammates, my friends, the work ethic, or the workouts, the adventures. But now more than ever, I see the lessons that were embedded in all of it. I spent 4 years here as a UM athlete, another 4.5 at UM grad school. My daughter goes to preschool on campus and tells everybody she goes to school at UM. And I'm now in my 7th year as a faculty member in the School of Education and Human Development. So when I say I bleed orange and green, thank you. So when I say I bleed orange and green, I bleed orange and green. UM has probably been the single biggest influence on my life outside of my family. Truly, it is all about the U. And with that, I have some thank yous. First to my coaches for pushing me, my teammates for making the ride so fun, and for my friends for their immeasurable support. And many of them are here with me tonight. Finally, I have to thank my family. My little pork chop, who brings joy and sunshine wherever she goes and is up very late past her bedtime. My siblings, who are my first and also often my stiffest competition, and to my parents. My dad, who is an Olympic rower and is here tonight. My mom, who is in the midst of her own brutal journey with cancer and is watching on FaceTime, and she probably can't see anything, but that's okay. And I thank them for their support, their sacrifices, their unwavering commitment to our dreams, and to the deep love that they share. Even in these impossible times, they are teaching us about strength and courage and faith. So in all the ways I can never fully say, thank you. And thank you, because I definitely went over my 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great. Congratulations.